Good morning, good people. Today is Wednesday, December 31st, 2025. This is it, the last day of the year. The last day of the year. Tomorrow we start anew. We're going to talk about that. But here we are. It's again December 31st. It is about 6 o'clock in the morning. We are here in southwestern Nevada, the Nevada frontier, west of Sin City, east of Death Valley, south of Area 51, hard scrabble territory, bunch of sharp-elbowed, rootin' tootin', pistol-packing people. Right, here we are, making the most of it. And it's the last day of the year. Broadcast number 365 for the year. Cheers. 8 days till shooting the next one. 8 days. 8 days until the Nevada Frontier show comes on. Nye County, the Nevada Frontier. Cool. So I'll probably be down at the station today. See how is things going. But anyway, it's the last day of the year. This is also day 3 of week 1. Day 3 of week 1, we are going to talk about addiction. But before we do that, let us go to our worksheet and get some advice from an 80-year-old. Advice from an 80-year-old. Be bold and courageous. When you look back on life, you'll regret the things you didn't do more than the ones you did. I think that's good advice. Next, Seth Godin. Which kind of enough? It's kind of a long one, people. Which kind of enough? If you buy an IKEA table, you'll need 8 bolts to put it together. 7 is not enough. This is a functional sort of enough. It can be critical to our survival. I have enough medication to last through this illness. We have enough food to feed our family. But this isn't the stress that we often feel in social or financial settings. That's the bottomless N+1 habit of never having enough. Our needs go hijacked and turned into endless wants. Marketers and adjudicators of cultural standing turned enough, rock and roll quotes, from a functional requirement to a never-ending tactic. The not enough of the driven hedge fund bro in the Hamptons, or the not enough of the person hoarding resources, or the not enough of the generous but nervous host who finds a sort of fuel in worrying about being hospitable. The not enough chronicled in magazines and social media accounts. It's the not enough of someone counting online metrics, and the not enough of the athlete who doesn't simply want to win, they want to break a record. This is a choice, and it is simply about the story we tell ourselves. There's no absolute measure, no certain number of nuts and bolts needed in the optional search for solace and status. Let me say that sentence again. There's no absolute measure, no certain number of nuts and bolts needed in the optional search for solace and status. On the other hand, when we find the insight to choose what our enough is, the people around us often respond warmly and in kind. Right, because people like us do things like this. Insufficiency isn't a tool or an advantage. It's a hack, distraction, and a place to hide. This is a choice. a simple one we can remake each day. Aha! Which kind of enough? The actual enough or the never enough? Righto. Righto, old chap. What else we got here on our hit parade? Well, we've got two things to talk about. 1 and 2. On the one hand, today's TED Talk, very, 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 very important. Very to the power of X important. This is one of those things that you write it down, figure out how to ingest it, and don't leave home without it. Addiction. Number 2, to prepare ourselves for the coming year. These two things to talk about. And let's talk about addiction first. Okay, Johann Hari, another guy, big name. He's the guy they say, yep, he probably figured it out. Because as the professionals were going deep, he was going broad across, trying to synthesize what's going on, because the deep could answer a question, but not the questions about addiction. And so Johann Hari is probably the guy who figured it out. In fact, that's what they say. And his background and his motivation are probably what enabled him to do it. So background, Cambridge, highly educated, highly intelligent guy, motivated to do well, won awards for writing, literature, or journalism, I don't know which, but winning awards. But he had a little secret, an addiction problem, a drug addiction problem. But at that time, people didn't see it as an addiction. They saw it as recreation, right? Recreation, didn't see the side effects of the behavior. So winning awards, does some things not important, crashes and burns his career, steps back and says, what the beep? What the beep? Why did I do that? I had everything going for me. I didn't have to do. Why did I do that? What was the reason I did it? And then looked at his behavior, looked at addiction. And so now we have a guy who is trained to find, as an investigative reporter, journalist, whatever, trained from a top university. He has the means. He made money. And he has the motive. It's personal. I got to figure this out. It's got to understand the addiction thing. So he was able, because he had the training, the means, and the motive, I think, and a lot of people think, he was able to be the guy that everybody says, yeah, I think he got it. I think he figured it out. I think he pulled it all together because he could and he needed to. And that very simply is, oh, what, not a baby, good morning. That very simply is, the opposite of addiction is not what? What's not the opposite of addiction? What, not a baby? I'm on the bus, so I can't hear you well. Wrong. Sobriety is not the opposite of addiction. Connection is not the opposite of addiction. Eek. Right. Sobriety is not the opposite of addiction. Connection is the opposite of addiction. And one thing you can do, anybody who's familiar with AA and sobriety is the consequence of connection. It's delayed. Ha. Okay. Sobriety is the outcome. It's not the opposite of addiction. It's the outcome of connection. Okay, what does that mean? Well, we are social animals and we need to connect with something to feel good. We have a limbic system in our brain where neurotransmitters are released that make us feel a certain way, and we have preferences in how we feel. We'd rather feel pleasure than pain. We'd rather feel good than bad. And we have a system in our body that we feel things because of chemicals being released in us. And people who have addiction problems are people who do things to feel good, not thinking, non-conscious behavior, typically, non-conscious behavior in order to feel good because they don't feel good. And typically the behavior causes them to isolate. Let's see, Watanabe says, I saw a great clip yesterday about this. Substances and behaviors are our attempts to soothe the pain of disconnection, but it's like drinking salt water when you're dying of thirst. Okay, what happens when you drink salt water when you're dying of thirst? You die. It's not healthy. It's too much salt. Okay, so we have evolved, we're programmed, we're socialized to do things to make us feel good. Because if we feel good, we perform better. And we have a system in our body that releases chemicals that make us feel good if we do certain things. And our behavior, non-conscious behavior, then starts acting in such a way to get the pleasure, to get the neurotransmitter. So you go into a casino, you play a slot machine, and you're just habitually doing, non-consciously doing a routine. Your brain is somewhere else. You're thinking about this other stuff. You're putting money in, you're pushing the button. And when certain patterns light up on the screen, you get a little shot of a chemical, dopamine, and I feel good. And I'm going to keep doing it because I want to feel good. What am I doing though? I'm isolating. I'm not doing things with other people. Okay, got it. Not doing things with other people. I'm isolating. And then a pattern of behavior gets set up where all I'm doing is that one thing, pursuing feeling good or removing the pain, as Watanabe says, to soothe the pain that we have. I'm doing this to soothe the pain, and I'm isolating. And all I do is I do that one thing over and over and over again. So that comes back to Aristotle. I think it was Aristotle, all things in moderation. People that have addiction don't have moderation. That's all they do. They disconnect from other people. And that is not good if everybody's just off by themselves, doing things in a mind-numbed way because their body wants these the trip of the neurotransmitters. It's very sad to walk into a casino here, the few casinos here in Pahrump, Kentucky, and you'll see mind-dead people sitting in front of machines just pushing buttons. Smoking cigarette, pushing button, doing this to feel good, doing this to feel good. Because why? Because I don't have a life. We are independent beings. There is no way around it. Plant, animal, and mineral are all us. We are interdependent. Okay, we are interdependent, not independent. We start out life dependent, and then when we get into our teenage years, we become independent. You can't tell me what to do. And we need to learn to become interdependent, because that is how the Yuval Harari thing, which we're going to see tomorrow, kicks in, working flexibly in large numbers. But so Yuval Harari, Johann Hari, again in here, day 3, the opposite of addiction is connection. We need to connect with people. We need to be singing love songs to the addicts in our life, not threatening the connection. Right. So, I have 2 words for you. Crucible therapy. Next, okay, let's move on. It's the end of the year. It's the end of the year. Cheer. We should all put together our resolutions. I was listening to Darren Hardy today. It'll be on the worksheet of write a letter to yourself that you'll look at through the year of what you want to do during the year, but it's a letter to yourself that you can add to. Here's where I am. Here's where I want to be. Jordan Peterson breaks this down very well also. And he says to talk about yourself in 10 dimensions in a positive way. Where do you want to be 3 years from now? Where do you want to be at the end of the year in terms of your family, your friends, your job, your education, your outlook on life, your travels, every possible, your spiritual life, your physical life, your emotional life. Where do you want to be a year from now? And then, so that's one list. The second list is if you don't change, if you continue on the path you're going. So it's not frozen in place. We're on a trajectory, right? And maybe we weren't really going anywhere this year. We were going somewhere before that, and we're not going anywhere this year. So you plot those 2 points, and it'll be a downward line. And so you do the same thing. If I don't change my trajectory, where will I be at this time next year? The first list is the thing that's going to pull you forward by thinking about it, creating like a vision board, not like a vision board, creating a vision board or something like it, creating that to pull you forward, to keep remembering the things that are important to you and where you want to go. And then you have the other list, the list that's chasing you, the things that if I don't keep moving forward, this is going to swallow me. That's the Jordan Peterson thing. So if you focus on the future, Jordan Peterson says, if you focus on the future, your world will shape around that idea. You will be activating your reticular activating system, which we're going to learn about next week, week 2. You will program the RAS, so that those things become important to you. The things on your letter become important to you. And anytime something having to do with those comes into where you can, so any information about those things that is available to you, you can hear it, see it, smell it, taste it, touch it, etc. Anything your reticular activating system will trigger, will lock onto that, and all of a sudden your world will frame itself around the things you want. And then you got to have that other thing chasing you. So you might say, yeah, I want to learn something about AI tonight. No. I'd like to have a bottle of bourbon tonight, but if I do, this is the bad stuff that's going to get me, which I don't want. So I will study. I'll do something productive because I don't want that bad thing to catch up to me. I want to get as far away from it as I can. So we're at time, 20 minutes. We're going to lock it down. What not a bevy. Have a great day. Anxious